Technology is nothing without the capacity to make people dream. The internet intensifies that capacity and that narrative of liberation. I wish those were my words, but that was a quote from Achille Mbembe, who's an intellectual, and he often writes about African political philosophy. Now, the little that I do know about philosophy is that it's about understanding the fundamental truths about yourself, about the world that you live in, and about the history that has made you who you are. When I was a child, I used to point at the TV, according to my father, whenever Christiana Manpur was on from CNN, and I'd say, that's what I want to be when I grow up. I've always been fascinated by people who tell stories, who portray people's realities, and that's kind of what I'm speaking about today. I'm speaking about writing myself into history. Today I'm going to speak about 3 factors that either exclude or misrepresent or simply erase my narrative or my lived experiences from mainstream media or public discourse. That's my blackness, my Africanness or my Zimbabweanness, and my womanhood. These 3 factors often mean that the world has a say in who I am, in who I ought to be, and in why I am the way I am. So I'm angry because I'm black and I'm a woman, and black women are always angry. Or I am a victim because I am black, Zimbabwean, African, and a woman, and colonialism and authoritarian leadership has taken away all of my agency. Or I'm simply void of reason because, as the Martinican philosopher Frantz Fanon says, reason seems to leave the room as my black body enters it. Now, none of these even begin to capture the multiplicity of my experiences. So I use the internet, specifically Twitter, to write myself into history. Now, what's in a hashtag? What's in 140 characters? Well, firstly, they center my narrative. When I tweet, it's my lens you see through, and it is the point of departure. Secondly, I can slowly dispel the myths that have been told about me. And thirdly, I'm literally writing myself into history. My digital footprint is here, and my identity doesn't have to be mangled and contorted to suit whiteness. Now, while the internet allows me to center my narrative, it doesn't come without conflict or forms of violence, because even on a platform like that, you can be silenced. But overwhelmingly, I find myself empowered. And I think that's what it is that I find myself. I see myself on my timeline. I see people who look like me, I see people who speak like me, who think like me, who struggle with the same things that I struggle with. I find myself. I find black, Zimbabwean, and African women who are athletes, models, doctors, strippers, academics, chefs, politicians, economists, sex workers, evangelists, and everything in between. I find myself. I find my country's failures and its successes. I find the lies that have been told to exclude me from the conversation. I find myself. Now, when I'm on the internet, I'm very much black and African and a woman and Zimbabwean, but I'm also whoever I say I am, today, tomorrow, and the next. Twitter has allowed me to start decolonizing my mind and to live my life offline with as much power and conviction and individuality as I do online. I have the capacity to dream. Now, if you're still wondering why this matters, or why it should matter to you specifically, I'll try and simplify it with something that I found on Twitter, incidentally. You and I have always known white, Eurocentric history to be taught and understood as the core course in the global school of humanity. Whereas black African history has always just been an elective. I've had a tough couple of months. I lost my father, and he was the glue that held my life together. He was a politician, and he paid dearly for the price you have to pay for being a politician. But before he passed on, he said something profound. He said, "Vimbai mwanangu, Vimbai, my child. White history will never invite you to the table. You have to fight your way in. and you have to demand to be remembered. I stand here before you, the black short girl with the thick-ass thighs and the kinky hair. But when I'm online, I'm Midzi @ _Midzi, and I am whoever I say I am.